So, I'm 31, male, and I work as a mechanical engineer. I've been doing that since college, pretty much. Stable job, decent pay, nothing fancy, but I was happy. I married Ava, 29, female, when I was 27. We met at a campus event. I know, super cliche, but it actually felt right back then. We clicked fast, same dumb sense of humor, same taste in bad movies, same dream of building a simple, happy life. None of that fairy tale crap, just something real. And then there's William, 32, male, my best friend since elementary school. The guy's been around longer than half my family members. We grew up together, Little League, first real fight behind the grocery store when we were 13, scraped knees, bad haircuts, first broken heart, all of it. He was there through everything. He even stood next to me when I married Ava. Literally, he was my best man. So yeah, I trusted them both without question, without checking. Dumb, right? At the start, everything was fine. Normal married life stuff, work, weekend errands, fighting over what to watch on Netflix, stupid inside jokes about our neighbors. You know how it goes. But about 6 months ago, little things started feeling off. I didn't even notice it right away. She started being weird with her phone. Nothing major at first, just little things that didn't add up unless you were really looking. She used to leave it face up on the counter. She didn't care who saw her notifications. Then, out of nowhere, it was always flipped over or shoved into her back pocket like it was radioactive. One night, while we were sitting on the couch, I made a dumb joke about it. I picked up her phone and said, grinning, "What? You running a secret drug cartel or something?" Thinking she'd laugh like she normally would. Instead, she snatched it out of my hand so fast she nearly dropped it, her face flushed red. "Seriously, Ethan, don't touch my stuff," she snapped, voice way too sharp for the situation. I remember just sitting there, holding my hands up like I was under arrest, staring at her like, what the hell just happened? She muttered something about work messages and how I wouldn't understand, then stormed off to the kitchen, leaving me sitting there feeling like I just stepped into a conversation I didn't know I was part of. It was the first time I got that gut punch feeling, the first time I wondered if maybe, just maybe, something was really wrong. Another thing, she got real twitchy about me popping up at her work. Ava used to love when I dropped by. I'd bring her coffee, sometimes lunch. She'd light up when she saw me. But then it changed. She started acting all stressed about it, like I was bothering her. Told me her new boss was strict and random visits would make things complicated. I believed her, because why wouldn't I? She's my wife. William, meanwhile, started acting weird too. Not as obvious, but enough that I noticed. He started bailing on plans. We used to hang out at least twice a month, play video games, trash talk each other over stupid bets. Suddenly, he was always busy or working late. When we did hang out, he was jumpy, wouldn't meet my eyes, talked way too much about random crap and not at all about anything real. Still, even then, I didn't think anything like that was happening. I figured maybe Ava was stressed from work. Maybe William was dealing with his own stuff. Life gets busy, right? People drift a little. I wasn't going to be the guy who turned every small weird thing into some conspiracy theory. Big mistake. Then came the temp hospital job. Ava said a hospital in the next town over needed nurses for some special project. Better money, only 9 months long, looked great on a resume. She made it sound like a no-brainer. I was proud of her, told her to go for it. I even helped her fill out the paperwork. She told me the commute would be rough with her shifts. Lots of overnights. Lots of back-to-back 12-hour shifts. She said she might stay over at a coworker's place sometimes to catch some sleep. I didn't even blink. I trusted her. You'd think after all the dumb movies I've seen, I'd have had at least one tiny alarm go off. But nope. I backed her 100%. Bought her a new travel mug for those long drives. Made playlists for her. Kissed her goodbye with a stupid grin on my face like an idiot. The first few weeks were fine. She called every night, video chatted sometimes when she wasn't dead tired. Told me funny stories about patients and work drama. Complained about the vending machines, the usual. But then it shifted again. Fewer calls, shorter texts, more sorry babe, can't talk. Crazy night. The visits home got rarer too. Whenever I asked if I could swing by the hospital for lunch, it was some new excuse. New boss, too busy, new rules about guests, blah blah. Even William started popping up less. And when he did, he acted even weirder than before. Nervous, twitchy like he owed me money or broke something and didn't know how to tell me. I remember sitting on our couch one night after she bailed on yet another weekend visit and just feeling it, like something was slipping through my fingers and I couldn't even see what it was. Still, I told myself to suck it up, Long distance for a few months wasn't easy. Maybe I was just being sensitive, paranoid. Then one night, my sister texted me, "Hey, weird question. Is Ava supposed to be out tonight? I thought she was working. Pretty sure I just saw her at Grounds Coffee with William." She said they were laughing real close, and when they saw her, they both stiffened like they got caught stealing candy. I remember staring at that text for a full minute, my heart doing this weird, slow thud thing, like my body knew before my brain did. I texted back something stupid, haha, probably just running into each other. But something inside me, something that had been there for months, whispering, tugging at the back of my mind, finally screamed loud enough that I couldn't ignore it anymore. And that's when I remembered Ava's old iPad, still synced to her messages. I grabbed it off the dusty shelf in the hall closet. There I was, holding the old iPad like it was something dangerous. It hadn't been touched in months, probably a year. I almost put it back on the shelf and walked away. But I didn't. Instead, I booted it up and watched the screen light up like it was mocking me. 24% battery, enough for what I needed. I opened her Messages app. I don't even know what I expected. Maybe a few texts that looked a little too friendly. Maybe something I could rationalize. Maybe nothing at all, so I could call myself a paranoid idiot and feel stupid for doubting her. What I found? Yeah, it was worse. Messages. Hundreds of them. Not just from this week, from months back, buried deep like they didn't think anyone would ever go looking. Half of them deleted on her phone, but not wiped here. There was Ava and William joking, flirting, planning, using stupid little nicknames like partner in crime and my favorite risk. Talking about sneaking around, talking about when I'd be busy or distracted. One message from Ava said, "Wish you were here instead of Ethan." Another from William, "He's too sweet." He'd never even guess. I sat down hard on the floor in the hallway, couldn't even make myself move to a chair. I felt blank, not angry yet, not sad, just weirdly hollow, like the ground underneath me had tilted, and I was sliding off without anything to grab. I scrolled through the pictures next, because apparently I hate myself. Nothing full-blown rated R, but enough to make my heart crawl into my throat. Ava in her scrubs smiling at William. Ava curled up next to him on what definitely wasn't a coworker's couch. Ava winking at the camera with a caption that said, "Missing my escape." It felt like watching somebody else's life get shredded, like this wasn't real and I was just hovering above it. But it was real. I snapped out of it long enough to start taking screenshots. Every single message, every photo, every date and timestamp. I backed them all up to my laptop and then again to an external drive I hadn't touched since college. If I was going to do this, I needed proof. Solid, ugly proof that couldn't be argued with. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat on the living room couch with the lights off, staring at my phone as Ava texted me around midnight. "Long night, babe. Call you tomorrow." I looked at the screen for a good 10 minutes before locking it and setting it face down. I didn't reply. The next morning I called in sick at work. No way was I pretending to design HVAC systems for skyscrapers when my brain was busy exploding. I sat at the kitchen table and made a list on a scrap of paper. First thing, protect myself. I moved all my money into a new private account at a different bank, froze all the joint credit cards, changed every password she might know, banking, utilities, streaming, even grocery delivery apps. Petty? Maybe. Smart? Absolutely. Next, I called a divorce lawyer, found one with a solid reputation for handling messy stuff, explained what was going on, just the basics. He booked me for the next afternoon. I felt like a robot. Get up, do task, sit down. No room for thinking too much. The lawyer didn't blink when I showed him the screenshots. He said, "You've already done half my job for me." He explained that since I could prove adultery, the divorce could move fast. Cleaner division, better for me, small victories. By lunchtime, I had a game plan. And for the first time in 24 hours, I actually felt something close to solid ground under my feet. But I wasn't done yet. I made a Tinder account that afternoon, not to mess around, just to show Ava I wasn't sitting at home crying into a pint of ice cream. Matched with a girl named Camila real quick. Cute, funny, had a dog that wore sweaters in every picture. She wasn't looking for anything serious either, just someone to get a drink with, maybe vent about life. Perfect. We set up a casual meetup for Saturday night. I wasn't looking to start anything new. I just wanted normal conversation with someone who wasn't actively gutting my life. The next few days crawled by. I went to work. I answered Ava's calls with one-word texts. I didn't bring anything up yet. I needed everything lined up first, needed it to be on my terms. Saturday night came. I met Camila at a little rooftop bar downtown. It was actually nice. We laughed about bad Tinder dates, talked about how annoying coworkers could be. It was the first time in weeks I didn't feel like I was carrying a brick around in my chest. At one point, Camila held up her glass for a cheers. I snapped a quick photo. Just the glasses clinking, just her arm with the bright red bracelet in the shot. Perfect. Posted it to my Instagram story, no caption, just vibes. It didn't even take 30 minutes for my phone to start blowing up. Ava texted, "Who is that? Where are you? We need to talk now." Then she started calling over and over. I watched the screen light up again and again while I sat there sipping my drink and talking to Camila about the worst movies we'd ever seen. I didn't answer. I wasn't ready to talk yet. When I got home later, there were 17 missed calls and 34 unread messages. From Ava, from William, from random mutual friends who suddenly wanted to check in. Funny how nobody checked in before, when I was just quietly getting wrecked behind the scenes. I sat there for a minute looking at the mess they made and thought about everything I still had to do. The next thing was to face the man I used to call my brother and make him feel even a fraction of the wreckage he left behind. Saturday afternoon, I texted William. Short and simple, need to talk, come by alone, no smiley face, no joking around like we always did, just straight to the point. I didn't want to give him a chance to make an excuse. It took him about 20 minutes to reply, "Yeah, man, on my way." Reading that actually made my stomach turn. I sat on the couch staring at the front door, feeling this weird buzzing in my head. I didn't know if I wanted to punch him, cry, or just laugh at how pathetic the whole thing had gotten. Probably all three. He pulled up in his rusty Jeep like nothing had changed, hopped out wearing jeans and a faded hoodie, hands jammed into his pockets. He walked up to the door like he was coming over to watch the game. I didn't even let him get a word out when I opened the door. "Come inside," I said, voice flat. No handshake, no backslap, no fake smiles. He stepped in, looking around like he expected a party to jump out and yell surprise. I shut the door behind him harder than I needed to. He sat down awkwardly on the edge of the couch. I stayed standing. Neither of us said anything for a minute, just breathing in this heavy, disgusting silence. Finally, I broke it. "So," I said, crossing my arms and staring at him like he was some stranger who had just wandered into my house. "How long have you been screwing my wife?" His head jerked up so fast you'd think I'd hurled something at him. His face twisted into fake confusion, like he couldn't believe the words coming out of my mouth. "What? Dude, what the hell are you talking about? That's not—" "Save it." I cut him off before he could finish whatever lie he had ready. My voice was low, steady. "I've seen the messages. I've seen the pictures. I know everything, Will." "So how long?" For a second, he just stared at me, mouth half open like a kid caught stealing. He opened his mouth again, but whatever excuse he had lined up dried up before it could come out. He scrubbed a hand down his face like he could wipe away the guilt if he just tried hard enough. Finally, he slumped back into the couch like the air had been knocked out of him. "Couple months," he muttered, barely loud enough to hear. "It just happened, man. It just happened." I repeated it slowly, like I was tasting the words for the first time. "It just happened." Like you tripped over a rock and fell into her bed. He winced, actually winced, like my words hurt worse than what he did to me. I didn't care. Let him hurt. I kept staring at him. This guy who used to be at every family event, every Christmas dinner, the guy who helped me rebuild my Mustang when we were broke 20-somethings, the guy who stood next to me when I made vows he clearly didn't respect. Gone, just like that. "You were supposed to have my back," I said, quieter now but way more dangerous. "You were supposed to be my family." He shook his head frantically, palms up like he was begging for understanding. "It wasn't serious, Ethan. I swear to God, we were just lonely. It wasn't about you. It didn't mean anything." I laughed under my breath, a sharp, ugly sound. "Didn't mean anything," I repeated. I let the words hang there for a second, heavy and poisonous. "You wrecked my marriage. You blew up 20 years of friendship. Lied to my face over and over while you sat at my table, ate my food, smiled at my wife. But hey, it didn't mean anything, right? So I guess I'm just supposed to say, 'Cool, no problem, bro,' and hand you a damn gold star for effort." He looked miserable. Good. He deserved worse. "You know what's really funny, Will?" I said, the bitterness leaking into my voice so thick I could taste it. "If something ever happened to me, if I ever couldn't be there, I actually thought you'd be the one looking out for her, protecting her, being the guy I trusted with my life." He opened his mouth again, looking desperate now, like maybe there was one last Hail Mary he could throw. I wasn't interested. "Get out," I said, voice flat as concrete. He blinked like he didn't believe what he was hearing. Like maybe if he stood real still, the floor wouldn't crack under him. "Ethan, come on. Let's just talk." I stepped closer, keeping my arms crossed, blocking the doorway with my body. "Get out," I said again, slower this time, each word dropping like a hammer. For a second, it looked like he might argue, like he might try to explain how he didn't mean for it to happen, how it was just a mistake, how it wasn't what it looked like. But he didn't, because deep down even he knew there was no fixing this. He shuffled toward the door, head down, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. No more cocky jokes, no more friendly slaps on the back, no more fake smiles, just silence and the sound of the life we had collapsing into dust. He hesitated at the doorway, glancing back like he thought he might find some version of me still standing there willing to forgive him. All he saw was the closed, locked door. I didn't watch him leave. Didn't even wait for the sound of his Jeep starting up. I just shut the door behind him, locked it, and leaned my forehead against the wood for a second, breathing deep. It was over. Whatever we had, whatever we built over 2 decades, whatever history we thought mattered, it was dead the second he decided my wife was a shortcut to happiness. I turned the deadbolt slowly, listening to the final click. Then I walked away from the door without a second glance, just like he walked away from me. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed a few times. Ava, of course. William had already texted her, probably spinning up a whole tornado of lies trying to figure out how to save herself. I let it buzz another couple of times, then picked up. Her voice came through small and shaky. "Ethan, can we talk?" I didn't hesitate. "Yeah," I said flatly. "Come home, we'll talk." 20 minutes later, she pulled into the driveway like she was walking into a funeral she didn't want to attend. I waited by the door, arms folded, stone-faced, until she finally knocked. I opened it, didn't say a word, just stepped aside. She walked in slow, hugging her purse like it could shield her. "You wanted to talk," I said, voice cold. "Talk." She wrung her hands together, eyes darting, searching my face for some crack in the wall. I know things have felt off," she said, voice shaking just enough to sound rehearsed. "I've been stressed. Work's been insane. I haven't been myself, but Ethan, I swear." She stepped closer, voice getting softer, like she was laying honey over poison. "There's nothing going on. You're overthinking it. It's not what you think." I raised an eyebrow but stayed silent. Let her dig deeper. She rushed in to fill the silence, desperate. "William and I were just friends, always have been. You know that. You're tired, you're stressed. You're reading too much into things. Gaslighting. Straight out of the manual." I still said nothing. "I would never betray you like that," she kept going, voice rising just enough to sound offended, like I was the bad guy for even thinking it. "You know me, Ethan. You know us." I didn't move, didn't blink. Finally, I pulled out my phone, opened the gallery, turned the screen toward her without a single word. One of the screenshots, Ava curled up under a blanket next to William, her head on his chest, his hand in her hair. Her face drained of color so fast it was almost impressive. Still, she tried. God, she tried. Her voice jumped an octave. That's not what it looks like, Ethan. It's not like that, I swear." I tilted my head slowly, like I was studying a bug pinned to a board. "Really? Because it looks a hell of a lot like my wife snuggling up with my best friend while I'm sitting at home, making you playlists for your long drives." She shook her head wildly, tears filling her eyes now. "It's not like that. It wasn't serious. It wasn't like... It didn't mean anything." I smiled grimly. "Didn't mean anything?" I repeated, voice slicing straight through her excuses. "You sure about that?" "Because the messages say otherwise. Partner in crime, my favorite risk, sounds pretty serious to me." She staggered back a step like I'd hit her. "You're twisting this," she gasped, desperation leaking into her voice. "We were lonely, Ethan. You were always busy. You left me alone. I didn't know how to handle it." There it was. Not an apology, not even real regret, just flipping the blame like it was a magic trick. "You made a choice," I said coldly. "You had a husband who loved you, and you spit on it like it was nothing." Tears spilled down her cheeks now. She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back like she was radioactive. "I miss you," she sobbed. "I miss us. Please, Ethan, we can fix this." "No," I said, voice sharp enough to crack glass. You don't miss me. You miss the comfort. You miss the easy life you torched. She was crumbling now, hands pressed to her mouth like she could hold the broken pieces together. You broke it, I said, voice low and final. There's no fixing this. There's no coming back. Her hand dropped slowly. Her whole body sagged like the weight of her lies finally crushed her down. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I just pointed to the door. Get out. She hesitated, one last pathetic flicker of hope in her eyes. But I didn't budge. She walked out without another word. I shut the door behind her, locked it, and just like that, Ava was nothing more than another bad decision I'd survived. By Sunday night, I finally felt ready for the next move. I cleaned out the spare bedroom, the one Ava always called her yoga room but mostly used to dump laundry, packed up everything she owned that was still at the house, folded it neatly, boxed it up, labeled it, stacked it by the door like outgoing trash. Monday morning, I went to work like it was any normal day. Coffee, meetings, emails, fake small talk. There was still one thing left hanging over me like a bad smell. Reputation, ours, theirs, Williams. I wasn't about to let them both walk around town spinning stories that made me look like the bad guy who gave up too fast or couldn't handle it. I knew how small towns worked. I wasn't interested in standing around defending myself to every idiot who thought they knew better. I was going to end this cleanly, but loudly enough that nobody would ever wonder why. It started with the barbecue invite. A month before everything blew up, Ava and I had planned this big end-of-summer barbecue. Just friends, neighbors, a few CO workers, normal stuff. The invites were still floating around on group chats and Facebook events. I decided not to cancel it. Instead, I updated the invite. Same date, same time, same guest list. Except this time, it wasn't a celebration. It was a farewell tour. Tuesday morning, I sent William a text. Hey man, I've been thinking. Let's just put this behind us. I'm tired. You're tired. Let's not blow up 20 years over mistakes. Come to the barbecue. Fresh start. He answered way too fast. Man, I'm so sorry. Thank you for this. I'll be there. I didn't answer. Then I texted Ava. Still want you to come to the barbecue. No drama. I think we owe it to everyone who cared about us. I stared at the screen for a second, then added, let's just forget what happened and have a good day for everyone's sake. I hit send and tossed my phone onto the couch without waiting for a reply. It felt dirty playing it this way, acting like I was offering an olive branch when I was really setting the table for the final blow. But after everything they did, I figured they deserved the most honest thing they'd get from me, consequences. A few minutes later, the little heart reaction popped up on my message. She was in. The rest of the week, I played my part, cleaned up the yard, hung the lights, bought enough burgers and soda to feed a small army, even scrubbed the patio so it wouldn't look like a crime scene. Everyone thought it was normal. Nobody suspected a thing. William even texted asking if he could bring a date. I told him, of course, man, bring whoever. Saturday rolled in warm and sunny. I wore a plain black t-shirt and jeans, no effort, no stress. It wasn't my party, not really. It was my funeral for them. Guests started arriving around noon. Friends from college, a few of Ava's co-workers, neighbors carrying bowls of pasta salad and lemonade. Around 1:30, William showed up alone. He gave me a sheepish half-wave, like we were still buddies sneaking beers behind someone's garage. I nodded back once and turned away. 10 minutes later, Ava arrived. She wore the blue sundress she used to say I loved, the necklace I gave her on our second anniversary, hair done up, makeup a little too perfect for a casual BBQ. She smiled when she saw me, small, soft, hopeful. I nodded at her too. If she noticed how cold it was, she didn't show it. Once everyone had food and drinks in hand, I grabbed the mic from the patio table, tapped it once, cleared my throat. Hey everyone, I said casually. Thanks for coming. Means a lot. A few cheers, a few smiles. I kept my face blank. I know it's been a weird couple of months. Life happens. People drift. But I think it's important to celebrate the people who stick by you. Heads nodded. Someone clapped softly. And also, I said, pausing for just a second, to recognize the ones who don't. Silence. I clicked the remote in my pocket. The backyard TV flickered on. Slide after slide of Ava and William's messages rolled across the screen. Flirty texts, plans to meet, photos they thought were private. Nobody said a word, not one whisper, nothing but the buzzing of the patio lights overhead. I let it run for a solid 5 minutes. Let it soak into the grass, the chairs, the ribs burning slightly on the grill. When it was done, I set the mic down gently. Burgers are still hot if anyone's hungry, I said. I turned, walked toward Ava, pulling a thick white envelope from the back pocket of my jeans. She stared at me wide-eyed, almost flinching when I stopped in front of her. Almost forgot, I said, loud enough for the whole backyard to hear, my voice steady. These are for you. I held out the envelope. She didn't take it at first, just stared at it like it was a grenade. Go ahead, I said, raising my eyebrows. It's not like the paperwork cheats on you too. A few people sucked in a breath. A few others turned away, uncomfortable. I didn't care. Ava's hand shook as she reached out and took the envelope. She opened it slowly, right there in front of everyone, pulling out the crisp divorce papers that spelled out exactly how serious I was. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice just enough that only she could hear the next part. I'm not mad anymore. I'm not even hurt. I'm just done. Then I walked off. Behind me, the world cracked. Ava stood frozen near the drinks table, her face draining to the color of old paper. William looked like he was deciding between running and sinking into the ground. They didn't say a word. After about 10 minutes of silent awkwardness, they both disappeared. No goodbye, no scene, just gone. A few real friends stayed behind to help me clean up. They didn't ask questions. They didn't need to. One guy clapped me on the shoulder and just said, "Good for you, man. That was enough." Later that night, Ava sent me a text. "You didn't have to humiliate me like that." I didn't respond. William tried to call once. Blocked. I wasn't interested in hearing the excuses or the apologies. I wasn't interested in hearing how they never meant to hurt me or how it just happened. I wasn't interested in anything they had to say. Sunday morning, I dragged the boxes of Ava's stuff to the curb, took a picture of the pile, texted it to her with no words. Blocked her number right after. Felt lighter than I had in months. The week after was strange but good. Work was work. Bills got paid. Groceries needed buying. Life kept moving like it didn't care who broke your heart. I realized somewhere around Thursday that I hadn't thought about Ava for more than a few minutes all day. Not in anger, not in sadness, just nothing. And nothing feels a whole lot better than holding on to people who don't even want to be held. Funny thing is, some people tried to stay neutral. Said dumb stuff like, well, nobody's perfect, and relationships are complicated. Nah, cheating isn't complicated. It's selfish, it's lazy, it's cowardly, and it's not my burden anymore. 3 days later, she came back. Of course she did. Just showed up, sitting on the porch steps like a ghost of the woman who used to sleep next to me every night, hugging her knees to her chest, like the cold could somehow eat her whole if she stayed small enough. I pulled into the driveway after work and sat there for a minute just watching her. For a second, I thought about reversing right back onto the street, letting her sit there in the dark, with nothing but her guilt for company. But the longer I waited, the more she twisted it into something it wasn't. Better to end it clean. I got out slow and calm, keeping my distance. I stood by the truck, keys dangling from my hand, arms crossed over my chest, waiting. She scrambled to her feet like she was spring-loaded, wiping her palms down her jeans and tucking her hair behind her ears, like she thought neatness might save her now. She looked like she hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, like the truth was finally catching up to her after chasing her down for weeks. I didn't move closer. I didn't smile. I just stood there, cold and silent. "Ethan, please," she said, her voice cracking the second she opened her mouth. "Just hear me out, please. I'm begging you." "You've got 2 minutes," I said, voice flat and hard as stone. She flinched like the sharpness of it sliced through whatever fake hope she dragged up to the porch with her. She thought maybe I'd still be soft, still be the guy who cleaned up the mess for her, like always. She was about to find out just how wrong she was. I just want to start over," she rushed out, words tumbling over each other. "Please, Ethan, we can forget everything that happened. We can have a fresh start. We can be better. I'll be better. I swear." It almost stunned me how shameless it was. She wasn't even trying to deny it anymore, wasn't begging for forgiveness. She was begging for a reset button. Like we could just hit restart and pretend she hadn't blown a hole straight through everything we built. "You think we can just forget it?" I said, staring at her like she'd grown another head. "You think you can screw my best friend, and all we need is a fresh coat of paint?" She blinked rapidly, trying to stay standing under the weight of what I was throwing at her. "It doesn't have to be over, Ethan. We were happy once. We can find our way back. I know we can." "You killed it, Ava," I said, my voice sharp enough to cut right through her pleading. You don't get to set fire to something and then cry because it's ashes. She moved closer, desperate now, reaching for me like she could physically drag me back into her fantasy. I love you, she whispered. I never stopped. I made mistakes, but we can fix this if we just move forward. I took a step back before she could touch me, letting her reach into empty air, watching her realize she was alone in a way she couldn't fix with words. You don't love me, I said. You loved what I gave you. You loved being the person you got to be when you were standing next to someone who never stopped choosing you. Her lip trembled. Her whole body sagged, like she could barely hold herself upright. She stood there shivering in the dusk, hands curled into fists like she didn't know what to do with herself anymore. No second chances, I said quietly. Not for this, not for you. The finality of it hit her like a slap. She didn't argue, didn't scream, just stood there frozen, breaking apart right in front of me. Her hand dropped to her side, and for a second, she looked like she might collapse right there on the driveway. But she didn't. She turned, shoulders slumped, and stumbled back toward her car like a woman dragging the ruins of her own choices behind her. She didn't say another word. She didn't look back, and neither did I. I went inside, locked the door behind me, and dropped the blinds, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted the last thing she saw of me to be a closed door and nothing else. That night, I sat on the back porch, a light breeze lifting the edge of my t-shirt. I stared up at the sky and realized I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. I wasn't anything, and that felt better than anything I could remember. The next few days, I rebuilt my house piece by piece. I tossed out the wedding photos without ceremony. I packed away all the little knickknacks we collected over the years and donated them to the first charity that would take them. I bought a new mattress, one that didn't sag in the middle like our old one did. I painted the spare bedroom a clean, bright white and turned it into a proper office. No more yoga mats and abandoned projects gathering dust. For the first time in years, the house looked like it belonged to me, just me. Word got around fast. In small towns, nothing stays secret for long. A buddy texted me and said Ava had moved into a dingy one-bedroom across town. Said she looked rough, tired, run down, not the polished, smiling Ava everyone used to know. Apparently, William had stopped answering her calls. Couldn't have happened to two better people. I wasn't gloating. I wasn't throwing parties over their misery. It just didn't move me at all. They made their beds. They could lie in them, cold and alone, and think about what they traded away.